10, you do see a lot of people kind of favoring A, especially as the first push, which is what we're going to see here. You know, from Project X, we are seeing them go to A first, and I see that happen a lot, to be honest. And it always interests me when the defense aren't fully prepared for that. I just think people radiate it towards it like bees with jam.
And this is no picnic indeed for either of these teams. Again, for any of you guys who are just joining us, we are into Game 3 of the quarterfinals. Two teams with legitimate claims towards the throne in our July tournament up against each other, but only one of them gets to go further forward. Mimi, nice up and over, gets the kill to equalize 4 versus 4.
Spike planted.
Yep, and that's the spike going down, so it is again now a retake situation. 4v4 retake though, so there's still a lot of work that both teams can do, and we're seeing this really long flank come through from Oxxgen actually, you know, trapping the players of Project X into these cubby holes.
Silence.
Nice trade through as Petra, who we saw before on the breach,
remaining.
doing fantastic work. Looking like it's going to clean up here. Managing to get hit. Mimi actually with the triple. Nariel refuses to fall but cannot stand. It's a solid first round win.
Yeah, very, very solid indeed. Again, they just kind of... I think there, what I'll say is Oxygen didn't react fast enough, and, you know, we saw the flank come through. But I would like to, again, see a bit more utility invested kind of mid and A initially, certainly. Especially, this is kind of like, it's like a collapsed box of a map a lot of the time. It's like where you have, you know, other maps where there are two sites. It feels a lot more wide and a lot more long. Whereas this is like, you've got such little room to work with, it feels. And again, those choke points, you should be able to easily pinch and flank into them as a defender. But so far, we're not quite seeing that from Oxygen.
All right, so first round to exit. We have got Crazy defending the line there. Managing to spray down. Felipa stops it from being a complete team wipe, but it was pretty darn close.
It was like they just kind of lined up then, to be honest. Like, again, the spike is planted and it is all left down to Ness here, and there's very little she can do here. This is the part where I'd be like, no, we're having a tactical timeout. This isn't working. That's 2 rounds in a row where we just, you know, we've kind of fluffed it a little bit, to be honest. And again, being a bit wide there, it's like, yeah, maybe hold an angle if you want to, but otherwise I would just be like, now is the time for us to have a tactical timeout. Absolutely. I'm pulling back and we're talking about what on earth is happening and what we can do to fix it.
All right, so Exit, yeah, looking good here. Mimi has been coming through massively on the squad on the Killjoy. On the offensive push, I was going to be expecting to see the Killjoy have more, you know, of an impact defensively.
I mean, there's a lot of utility, and I think it's I think certainly late in the later game, in the later half, I suppose, that's when it gets very, very spicy with those Killjoys. But you know, in the opening, I like how we're getting a nice little shot of that intel dart of where it's going. Giuliano, though, is going to start this off by getting the nice pick onto Reefer. Again, this is where I want to see Oxygen absolutely stampeding back, and they've left that so open.
Yeah, solid start here for Exit. The plan, I think, is gonna be good here because Oxygen are being kept outside the point. You see they're desperate to try and get back in again and stop this from turning into a rout. Except they've done very well here. Zizo comes through huge, taking out Felipa. And it seems like Oxygen, they are evaporating.
Oxygen evaporating indeed, but again, it's a shame that they've chosen to go A every single time, and we're not seeing much adaptation coming through from Oxygen, and that worries me somewhat.
So 3 remaining versus 4. We know that Ness is still in the middle of all this mess. Mimi, the star player so far for Exit, as well, there you go, the bomb goes off. Oxygen, they couldn't make their way in, and that's Exit moving up 3-0.
It does concern me somewhat. Like, it really does. I think more utility needs to be used on A. Yeah, fair enough if you want to have, you know, players around B, but I think at this point you can afford to maybe send, you know, some block utility onto B, and maybe have someone lurking around mid, but the rest of you definitely need to be on A. And actually, it looks like that's what they're setting up for minus the mid part, so curious to see how this is going to go down. Maybe it looks like they're going for a bit of a bait here, putting that pressure onto mid so they can start making their way into A with the spike again. But we've got players ready and waiting, and they do have a lot of offensive utility there.
I mean, this is one of the reasons to really love Xbox, just the amount of maneuverability you can get around the map, especially if you are a Jet. So Ness and Giuliano both making a big impact. But right now, Except they're in the disadvantage. Now they're definitely in a disadvantage, losing out on their big Giuliano carry.
Yes, indeed. It looks like Oxxgen have finally, you know, the coffee's kicked in now, and they're like, oh, wait, hang on a second. Yep, this is how we play the game. Oxxgen, once again, getting another pick, taking down the significant gunner of Zizo. As we said previously, a very flexible player, able to both fulfill her role supportively, but also carry on a significant number of frags for her team.
Taken out.
Down to one remaining. Remember, Petra refuses to give in, but Nariel makes it official with the triple kill. Oxxgen, even if the worst happens, they are not going to get locked out entirely.
I think that I needed to see that happen for my own sanity. Because I feel like I was getting a little bit spooked there for Oxxgen, if I'm honest. I was getting a little bit shooketh. Again, you know, Xset just coming in and just stampeding through with a very clean-cut way of how they wanted to attack, and Oxxgen not really adapting well to it, but finally that adaptation is coming through. If they can try and secure it back to even Stevens, that's going to certainly benefit them, but Giuliano is going to get things underway by taking down Renissa, so again, this is where we want to see a bit of a rotate come through from Oxxgen.
Of course, it's going to be a little tricky for them because they spread Oxxgen have towards the B site pretty heavily. Ness is here in defense. That's the player you want, but they don't hit the first sniper shot. Init takes out Aretha. It's looking like Xset may have control of the point. The plant is good. Ness holding back, waiting for the other Oxxgen members to hit in from the southern flank.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's I did say the pressure would be on, and I was curious to see, you know, how both teams would play because of that, because I think people do tend to get a bit safer with it. But I wouldn't even say Oxxgen are being safe. It just feels like they're making the wrong assumptions. And, you know, now we're in a 2v3 situation. Make that a 3v1. It's all left down to Felipe now, and again, barely any intel there, barely any lines of sight. Nothing that she could really work with.
Oh, good use as well from Xset looking to try and stop an Oxygen resurgence, making use of the Viper's Pit to hold the site. Felipe looking for an exit frag or two. I think we'll be disappointed there, but at least let's hold on to their own weaponry heading now into round 6 with Xset in control.
Absolutely in control, 100%. I'm so confused as to why they are sending so much to B a lot of the time. It looks like, again, they're trying to adapt a bit better by having people kind of mid-A now, rightly so, but we do see the spike kind of prep for a bit of a B rush there. But ideally, this is where you want that utility. If you do have this one player on the B site, it should be someone with the utility to deal with that. And, you know, so far it's held off a little bit. Felipe, though, overextending, and is going to get taken out because she goes for a little bit of an ability when it's not the right time to. You really don't want to leave yourself overexposed like that.
Yeah, the buddy system coming into full effect there. 4 versus 4 as Giuliano finds the shot across but can't quite finish the job. That's still a big chunk of health off of Retha on that Sova, weakening some of the defense over on the B side, but look at the A. There's nothing there. But Giuliano, taken down by Rainsa, gets 2 before being traded.
Yeah, you know, this is looking slightly cleaner for Oxxgen now, but I'm curious how much of that is because they seem more comfortable with defending these like B site pushes. Obviously, only time can tell if that point is certain. You know, not.
The Loch Ness Monster, with all the knives in the world, takes down Petra without even using those knives, and somehow backs out, leaving Mimi all by herself on the point with the spike drop. There's no way, surely, on 30 health. And there we go. Oxxgen cleans up. That's round 2 for them.
Yep, but you know, again, it's interesting because the last map, you know, obviously Xset won and they clawed their way back on their attack, but it seems like I don't know whether it's because their attacks are so clean and structured, or whether it's just the fact that Oxxgen are defending a little bit squiffy. You know, there's a little bit of sometimes I think when they're in like a 1v1, or they end up in an engagement like that, they do get a little bit aggressive. We saw it just now, you know, when the Viper got the pick and then was just very wide and open and didn't even consider the possibility of a duo push there, which I think, again, it's a little bit risky biscuits, and I think, yeah, maybe be a little bit more cautious here, maybe not be as aggressive.
Maybe drop double Killjoy onto the A side, forcing a mass evacuation from both teams. So Xset, they are down to 4, and it looks like Xset are going straight back onto the point now that the Killjoys from both sides have been expended.
I mean, ideally, if you're defending, you want your Killjoy to be going down at the same time as the attacking Killjoy. I think that certainly benefits you, and you know, prevents that forced plant, really. So it does give the defense a bit of time to work with. It looks like we're seeing a little bit of rotation here with the spike. But you know, the defenders, they're lined up really nicely to be able to deal with that if they want to. There's a lot of pressure here on mid still. As I say, that the stage is of course going to run away.
30 seconds left.
Well, Nariel is still there to defend. I was going to say, with this, one of those criticisms we have for Oxxgen before is that they were maybe, you know, getting punished for being too spread out, but now it is providing them that, with that spread defense, they are able to cover all angles, which means Xset are back to making a desperation plant up against Ness, who grabs the triple kill and finishes off the job. Solid win there for Oxxgen, and they're almost back even again.
Yeah, and it feels like a kind of premonition, deja vu situation, because again, these teams are being so evenly matched going into this map. At this point, you know, we've seen a complete domination in the first few rounds, and then the other team has started to claw it back a little bit, which is exactly how every map has gone for these two.
Coming in to round 8. Both the teams coming into this one fully armed. They're not holding back at all. Xset, they're back on the A site again. I think it's said, maybe getting discouraged by some of the lack of success on the B means they're narrowing their options considerably.
Absolutely, but this is what I mean. A bit of patience coming through from Xset, and it's almost like, you know, there's no reaction really from Oxxgen here, and that site control has been taken. Look at all of this site control, and the spike can go down now. This is the thing. They're still. It's interesting to be so cautious when they have so much control there, and the plant isn't being executed at all.
Well, it seems like Xset maybe a little unwilling to believe how well that aggression to the site went. Oxxgen are certainly lurking around the outside, looking for a chance to get back in. The Reds come through to put Mimi back in the field with all of her deployables, but we are in the Viper's pit once more. Their area control is always crucial.
Take flight.
It's interesting because, again, if they would have gone for the plant sooner, they probably would still have the player count, and it's being whittled down more and more here by Oxxgen. It's now a 5v1 make that. Mimi with the spike has to cut out a 1v5. Very difficult thing to do, and there we go. Renissa's going to actually shut her down. A flawless round coming through from Oxxgen, and essentially being handed to them just because of the hesitance there to go for the plant.
Wow, this is honestly kind of astonishing here. Xset looks so much in control, but Oxxgen, they seem like they found the keys to this half. Unless we see something dramatically different from Xset, I wonder if we now see Oxxgen run away with the defending half.
But this is, again, it's this point, and I always make it. I always make it with things like this. If you get that plant down, if you get that spike firmly planted on the ground, time becomes your sixth player, essentially. And that benefits you so much. It can force the other team to make ridiculous mistakes. It's frustrating, especially considering how well Exit have done so far, and then all that control for now, and it just slowly crumbled away. Obviously, got to feel amazing for Oxygen because they've evened it up, but frustrating, I will say, Counterfeit.
Yeah, I mean that's that's part of that mental discipline that these teams will have been developing as much as they can to be in situations like this, to be so close to a runaway game, but have it snatched away from you, and to find that mental reset, to get back in the game and start being competitive once more.
Absolutely, and here we go again. They're getting that site control. We're seeing this utility go down. Will the plant happen? Yes, no, maybe so.
We criticised the Exit before for waiting too long on the plant. Petra, who did have the spike, gets taken out. We have got the wall to block off a little bit of sight. There we go. This time around, Exit, they'll make the plant that little bit earlier and force out the response from Oxygen.
Absolutely, force out the response is the main thing there, because now Oxygen have to make these really quick thinking plays, and they are very unaware of Mimi up here, like a little rat hidden in the corner. The Leaper's going to fall to Zizo, and again, it's not looking very good for Oxygen as more of their players fall. It's now a 2v2, but again, that timer is going down. The ult's going to come through from Reaper on the Sova. Ness is going to get the pick onto Zizo. A 1v2, but they're defusing.
Oh! The secret Mimi is the deadliest! The time has run out! And exactly as you said, with the earlier bomb plant, while Mimi has to pay for it with her life, that is Exet now back in the lead.
But this is it, right? This is exactly it. You force that plan. As soon as you get that control, you force it. You risk it for a chocolate biscuit, and the timer. It's not just they have to go and defuse it. They have to deal with all of you. And yes, even if some of you die, it is a sacrifice you have to be willing to make. We don't care about the stats. We care about the winning. I think if you're going and you're pushing for kills instead of focusing objective, you are being kill goblin, and you deserve a paddling, to be honest. So that's a paddling.
That's a harsh assessment, but perhaps it's the discipline that these teams need. Exet winning out that early trade. I was going to ask, when do we see Exet actually make a break towards B side? Apparently now is the time.
Well, absolutely, and Juliana's going to start off this collapse by getting a cheeky little shot there, so it's now a 4v2 situation, but again, well, I take it back. I was going to say they're not planting, but there we go. The plant is going down. A little quick trade coming through. All left down to Reaper here on the Sova. Going to try and get a little bit of a pot shot, but doesn't quite manage to land on anyone. The plant has gone down. It's now a retake situation. It doesn't look great here.
No, and this is, we're talking about the ability to reset. Giuliano makes it happen for Exet. They're back from being a team that was looking like they were out of control in this game to one who are now convincingly winning rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it would be interesting to see if they clock onto the fact that, hey guys, we seem to actually win when we force objective. Perhaps we should keep doing that. Oxygen keep getting a bit too aggressive or not reacting quick enough. So we should take advantage of that.
I mean, that's what makes these kind of esports, and generally any kind of sports, endlessly fascinating. Is it's always a different game. Even if you're playing perfect Valorant, it's going to be a different perfect Valorant depending on who you're playing against.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of these players, they don't need to go for kills. We know they're good players. Like, we literally know you're good players. We've seen it. We've seen the stats get padded in the previous maps. This is the last map of a best of 3. You both need to win. Oxygen need to react more. Exit need to focus objective. Simply put.
Except they're back up to their old tricks again. No casualties so far. Ness is, of course, hyper deadly as Mimi gets knocked down. Zizo with a nice hit there as Ness brings out the blades looking for the play. But what's this? Exit. They have exited the site with quite some speed. They might outmaneuver Oxygen here.
Potentially, again, it's I understand Oxygen's hesitance here where they're keeping a player at that A site and one in mid because it is like, oh, is this another bait? But there we go, Nariel is going to take down Tracy as well, and it's very undefended, so of course, again, this fight can go down. Oh, that's such a shame, but I understand. I would be cautious too if that was an absolute bait. If they were just pulling back a little bit to trick us into thinking that they were making the rotate there. That's a really good play coming through from Exit, to be honest, on his counter pit.
Round the corner is Giuliano, escapes out. Reigns are the one to get taken down. Ness is still here. The knives are out for the play. Jumping across and delivering a whole heap of trouble. Short range sniping by her as the defending Killjoy will go off. Zizo is hidden though, so they won't get found out and taken down. That will be a defender win.
Last round in the half.
Yeah, I can't tell if Zizo was thinking that it was a kind of tactical timeout situation, or whether they were just unaware of the defuse going down there. But either way, well played there, Oxygen, for pulling that back, even after the old bait and switch.
All right, so Oxygen and Exep almost tied neck and neck in our final game of the final game of our on-stream quarterfinals. I'm going to ask you, who are you feeling is going to take this one? Because it feels too close to call, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
I can't actually, yeah, it's as you say, it's too close to call, but I think it's more the fact that both the teams are making mistakes, and this is what I was worried about going into this map, where it was like, perhaps because the pressure's on and they both need to win, it is that third and final map, like whoever loses is going home here. The pressure is on, but there's so many mistakes being made from both sides that it's a little bit like, are you all overthinking it a bit too much? Do you have to kind of, again, we've seen them the last two maps, they've been beautiful at just being back to basics, doing very good, solid, competitive Valorant, but there just seems to be, yeah, a lot of overthinking here. On both sides, and I can't call it, honestly, I can't.
Well, they'll do it for us. Oxygen and Exet, only one advances into the semi-final stages. Every play, every move each of our players makes hits, they could be the one that wins or loses your team that place in the competition. Pressure's on. Oxygen will grab the first couple of kills before Rita's taken down.
Absolutely, and more players of Exet getting whittled down as Ness gets a beautiful pick there onto Giuliano, but the plant is going down. Can Oxygen shut this down? No, they can't. The plant is stuck. It's now a retake situation. Ariel in a very tight angle here. Oh, great that Zizo was aware and they weren't, and there's a second onto Petra as well. Location has been revealed, but it does not matter because that defuse can go down. They have clutched out that situation.
Oh my gosh, putting the Gnar in Nariel. Oxygen draw even 6 apiece, which means we are headed into our second half with not a single round between our teams.
No, and Val is, again, think about how this matchup has gone between the two of them and how evenly balanced it has been. And again, to go into the second half on that 6-6 even split, that should be very obvious to everyone how much these teams are matched up against each other. Like well matched as well. And again, I really do think this is going to come close to the nail with this. It's a little bit scary. The pressure's really on. I feel for them. I feel for them so bad right now.
Well, let's see if we can get a different approach to offensive play, except now on the defense, they're committing themselves in hard towards the A site with one mid and one over on B. Area control is going to be massive, of course, as... what's this? Oxygen, they've got something new in mind.
Absolutely, but Zizo is ready and waiting for them. Significant amount of utility being dumped there to prevent that push, so it all seemed to be for nothing. Again, no one's died yet, which is great. 1 minute on the clock, and both these teams playing it very, very well.
Alright, so we've got ourselves a standoff for the time being. The Oxygen moving across to B once again. I love that we've seen Oxygen try something new here. You could definitely tell how unnerved it made the XZ side to suddenly have a approach that they hadn't even considered in their own half.
Oh yeah, definitely. 100%. And you know, now there seems to be a bit of a transfer towards the A site, but the spike is being taken to B.
Left.
The utility is getting dumped. That plant is going down counterfeit.
And it's good. Just like you said, Oxxgen Esports not wasting a second of that ticking time. Now for XZ, they realize they've been outmaneuvered, they've been bamboozled. Petra
Revealing area.
needs to get a little bit of information for the squad. Does manage to... No! Recon Bolt killed before it goes through. Charging on the XZ squad, but they are falling to pieces. Mimi does get one back, but drops in return. This is a huge round for Oxygen.
Absolutely, but that defuse is being stuck there. No, it's not anymore. Giuliano's have to come off the defuse, and they are going to have to try and win out this 1v3. They pick up one of them, taking down Nest, but again, this round is ultimately lost because they have to pull back, and they're not going to be able to find these players and get the defuse down.
Somehow that doesn't turn into a kill as Giuliano actually falls victim to the spike explosion on the way out. Nicely done from Oxygen Esports, commanding the map.
Yeah, that was really strong from them, and again, it's interesting because if Oxygen now come through and kind of stampede a little bit, that's gonna be a little bit surprising to me. Again, I think this is gonna be a lot more evenly matched. Yet again, I think that the way the last few maps have gone, it would be surprising if Oxygen suddenly came through now and got, like, you know, 6 rounds in a row. I probably jinxed it now though.
I mean, that's one of the things we casters are here for.
There's nobody on B, and they're going for an immediate B rush. Oh no, counterfeit.
Wow, so XZ apparently was so impressed by what they've seen from Oxygen so far, they thought, we can't hold a push unless the entire team is here. Intruder alert, well put by our observer there, because Oxygen, they have intruded onto the B site, got the plant, and they've gotten out without taking a single shot.
I am literally sat here with my hands on my head in disbelief. What did I just witness? I really want to know the logic behind stacking your entire team there from the start of the round remaining.
That was
there we go.
brutal!
Oh my goodness.
Alright. Based off of that last round, Grace, are you starting to feel like we might be seeing one of our semi-finalists coming together here?
Do you know what? I'm gonna say no because I think XZ have learnt their, well, as I say, they've learnt their lesson. We're gonna start seeing a bit of a stack up around A again.
There's no way they do it a second time.
Well, no, they've got the Vipers there on B, and again, if you've got a little bit of utility at least there to try and, like, block off a line of sight, or at least, you know, let you know, okay, you know, guys, they're doing this again. Everyone can react to that, but I just think everyone's way too far away right now on A for anything positive to really happen. I mean, again, never say never, and they are kind of dilly-dallying with that spike a bit, and it looks like they are actually going for a rotate, so I think Oxygen got cold feet a little bit there.
This is one of the rare occasions in these recent rounds where XZ are the ones to pick up first blood, so seems like Oxygen were faking out towards B, maybe hoping to get the A point evacuated, and that has worked for the most part.
Again, we're going to see some utility get used here to stop any push from there. I think they're ready and waiting for it every time here's Zizo on the stage, but Petra's going to get the pick onto Rain set 2, whittling down ever more the side of Oxygen Esports, who, again, it doesn't look like they're completely determined as to where their execute is going to come from.
Yeah, this is This is definitely not what we've gotten used to from
30
Oxxgen
seconds
Esports in
left.
these last few rounds. Their confidence seems to be crumbling before our eyes as their carefully laid plans getting picked apart by Xset. Resurgent in the round. They've still got the Jet in play. Ness is still the one to rely on, but no. Oxygen, they're all gone. That winning streak is gone as well.
Yeah, and it's I think if they committed then a little bit more to B, they probably would have got away with that a lot sooner. I think, yeah, they did just get cold feet all of a sudden, and it kind of got a little bit awkward there as it was like, okay, well, the shot call needs to come through, and it seemed like there wasn't really any call coming through too quickly. So I think they just need to strongly, firmly pick a side and just go for it.
Yes, perhaps it's just a little too clever for their own good, Oxygen Esports, with the old fakeroo. Suddenly giving Xset the opportunity to get back in without that time pressure you mentioned a couple times already. That has been, was so effective from Oxygen before. Big, decisive plays.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're going to see this wall come up, and it's going to allow for a little bit of coverage here so they can get into position and get that plant down. Everyone's setting up nicely. Again, they're really good at setting up for the actual execute. It's that setup. It's making sure people are in position to deal with the defense.
No, the plant's been cancelled from Oxygen. They've fallen back with burning it through the Sage heal as well. So, for Xset, that's a first victory on bringing things back to even in our third game of the quarterfinal. Oxygen, they've got a decision to make here. Where next?
Message sent.
I mean, well, Zizo is going to take their gun to Felipe's face next, but obviously that is a prominent opening pick for them to get that utility off the board, especially when it comes to how Oxygen are choosing to play their attack on these sites. You really do want to get that Viper away and get rid of that coverage.
Does not seem like Oxygen are willing to leave the B site until they've scouted out the A site thoroughly. Right now, that is what Rainsa is doing on the Killjoy. Reporting back to the squad, the A site is free for the taking. Means Oxygen are on the move.
Certainly so, but so are Xset. So again, they're probably going to run into a bit of trouble.
10 seconds left.
I think everything's synchronizing nicely between these two teams at this point. We're seeing these trades come through again, and I agree with you. Maybe Xset are about to, okay, maybe not. Maybe Oxygen are going to get cheeky 2 kills in their bag, but there we go. Defenders have won. I mean, it's a tricky one, really, isn't it? Because obviously they're even Stevened again, but there's nothing I can say that's really going to be like, oh, this is really, really difficult for both sides. I think at this point they're both still overthinking, and they're both trying to think about what each other's doing to such an extent that it's actually to each other's detriment.
Oh, I absolutely agree. It felt like there was an opportunity for Oxygen to make the commit in there, but they faltered. They weren't sure what Xset had for them. This time around, though, Oxygen going a lot more bold onto the A site itself, but Xset's defenders, they're quickly rushing out of the B site to try and react.
But again, it's ironic because I was saying that in Xset's attack they were getting this control and then not getting the plant down. But with Oxygen, it seems to be they're not fully committing to getting that control. They're setting up nicely for it, but they're not fully committing to it. If something goes slightly wrong, then they kind of back off a little bit.
Placing swarm grenade.
It's costing Oxygen here as they are being bled out in this round 17. Giuliano comes through huge, taking out Ness in this round and picking up kill number 4. It's a flawless victory for Xset and an invitation to try and take even more.
Absolutely, and it's only a few more rounds for both these teams to get in order to win out this best of 3. And the later and later we get into this map, the more the pressure is going to start stacking and stacking. And I suppose my main concern is if they've been overthinking since round 1, that presumably is only going to get worse.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you've got the pressure of knowing that this is potentially the end of the line for the tournament, you don't want to be the person. I mean, we don't know who the strategic shot caller for Oxygen is here, but you really don't want to be the person who makes the wrong call here.
Yeah, 100%. And again, it's interesting. We're seeing a lot of timeouts being utilized by these teams, and I think rightly so, because it has been so evenly matched that you do want to have those moments to be like, oh my goodness, okay, let's sort this out. Let's actually sort this out right now.
I mean, certainly Oxygen, they seem like the team most in need of a reset, so I think wise to formulate a new plan. It's back to the B site for them. We'll see if they'll make the major commit, because Xset it looks like it's going to be ready with full forces. That B site doesn't look so appealing.
It doesn't, but again, it's now seeing if they commit to it or if they decide to rotate, and if they do decide to rotate, how quick that rotate is going to come through.
Oxygen getting held up on the approach to B for the Xset members. They are still holding in the center and A, so not going to be fully baited out. We can see Oxygen, they are here in force. They've got everyone for this push.
Everyone indeed. And again, we're not seeing any adaptation. Maybe we'll see them go back a little bit, but again, A is being held by players of Xset still, and there's someone mid, so the defense is set up really nicely here to deal with anything that Oxygen try and do.
Razor does at least get the numbers advantage for Oxygen, which may well open up hostilities for them. They've got a nice coverage across the point with the Viper wall, and Oxygen, I think they've got their entry here. Now it's down to Zizzo. Tizzo to try and save them. Ness is better on the duel. The point is surely Oxygen's now.
Oh, but the plan is denied. Giuliano overshot to the face, taking out
30
Philippa,
seconds left.
making sure that plan does not go
One
down.
enemy
Oxygen
remaining.
still needs to get that plan stuck. Nariel is going to pick it up and try and go for it. And there we go. A nice quick cleanup by Reaper there. It's going to allow Oxygen to get another round in the bag. And again, evening this up to a 9-9. This is getting way too close for comfort.
Absolutely is. Oh my gosh. So yeah, for Oxygen, it felt like it was going to be one of those previous rounds where Oxygen kind of went undernard backwards and forwards, but I think getting the pick off there made the big difference for Oxygen to get that confidence to force the play onto the B side.
Absolutely. And I suppose the main thing as well watching this is obviously both these teams are absolutely trying their darndest right now, and I am concerned if, as I said before, the support staff of whoever wins now, they have to go against tomorrow, and how much work will actually be done overnight, especially when there's a lot here that they can work with essentially.
No, you're absolutely right, and that's the big difference maker between a good team and a great team, is that ability to use that very limited amount of time you've got here to its maximum ability. Oxygen, they need to try and salvage this round, and they have drawn even 2 unanswered kills. Lets them go right up the middle of the map, diverging across to the B site, where the Viper's Pit has already been deployed. It will not find value for Xset.
Spike
as
down B.
the 2 kills are traded.
Yes, indeed, but that spike is picked up and the plant is going to
Spike
start going
planted.
down again. And there we go. The plant spike has been planted. 2v2 retake situation here for Xset. They just have to find the positioning. We've got a nice little pinch coming through here as Crazy has
player
rotated,
standing.
but is
One
ultimately
enemy
shot down by
remaining.
Nariel. Mimi is going to trade that back immediately though, but she still has Reaver on the Sova to find, and there's still some utility in pocket that Reaver can use, but realistically I don't think she will. I don't think she'll waste it just yet. I think she's just going to hold a passive angle and wait for the time.
Standing ahead.
Trying to bait out Retha. Oh my gosh, if that had been looking in different direction, Hunter's Fury firing through the wall. You can't make the defuse when you're full of holes.
Do you know what? Fair enough. I think I don't know whether I call that a wasted ult because it is coming really down to the wire. So of course you want to use everything in your arsenal to secure that win. But I think maybe the swing out and saving that ult a little bit would have been beneficial. But I completely understand the logic there. I think I would have done the same, to be honest.
Placing sentry.
Well, he got the job done. For Oxygen, it certainly put them back into the lead with quite an appreciable bang. Except now behind as Giuliano out here with the blades immediately. That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was a little bit dirty, a little bit nasty. But you know, Xset do have a lot of utility in their pocket. I'm pretty sure their Sage has that ult up as well. This is getting way too close for comfort. Like, I almost don't want to watch.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine how our audience, how our players feel. I mean, Ness with all, you know, the weight of the Oxxgen Esports squad on their shoulders, as Giuliano, taking a trip through the air, gets plucked out of the sky.
My goodness, Nariel absolutely cleaning up them. Essentially, Nariel has all of A just to herself. It's going to distract the remaining Sova here. And that spike, once again, can go down. And you know, very limited information for Pet to work off here. They need to try and work out where that plant has actually gone down. Because, again, they would have got the call about A and they would have got the calls about B. So it's anyone's guess as to where that spike has gone down right now. They just have to make a decision, and ultimately there we are. Very tricky situation to be left in, and Reaper is going to clean them up, and that's Oxygen taking another round.
One step closer to the semi-final stages. We seem like we might be coming to an end here in the quarterfinals, but of course, we never know for sure. Xset, they fought back from harsher odds before. We can see Ness with 23 frags, but Nariel almost catching up on them with 18. For Oxygen, they seem to be on the right path, but they're not at the end of that path by any means.
No, and this is interesting. It looks like they're going for an immediate A rush rather. Okay, we're seeing the utility go down, and again, it's going to come down to if do they get that control and does that plant immediately go down. They've been pretty good with it so far, the last few rounds. They've been pretty good with it, to be honest.
There are defenders here from Xset though, so we'll see how that initially engaged going. Giuliano waiting out some of that utility which is initially being thrown in, including that slowing orb. Except they haven't tipped their hand yet, but Giuliano is taken off the field. This is big bad news for the Xset squad as they are getting ripped apart and they can't defend.
Yes, indeed. Zizo trying to go for the rotate, but ultimately they're actually going to go for the revive onto Giuliano as well. Extra players means, you know, presumably an extra bit of gunpowder behind you, but they really have to work now because these attackers are set up perfectly. Petra, however, is going to get the pick onto Rainsa, and Zizo is going to take down Reaper as well. Ness is going to trade that immediately out, though. It's 3v3 even.
Ness is doing an absolute murderous job here, even with the rest, as Zizo Tizo is going to be jumped down onto. No! That's 4 kills for Zizo. Xset, they hold on from what looked to be a lost round.
And again, crawling back to try and even this out. This is just so close. I don't think I've seen a game this close in a very, very long time. These two teams are absolutely giving it their all against each other. And yes, Oxygen are 1 round ahead, but I again, never say never. Xset could very easily suddenly turn around and get 3 rounds in a row now. I really can't determine what will happen with these two teams. They're just phenomenal plays.
I guess, yeah, since we've got this timeout to work with, you know, with Xset being behind here, what kind of strategy would you think would be most likely to succeed for them? You know, if they're going to turn this game back around and somehow take this final game.
I suppose it's just ideally trying to waste as much time as possible. Which again, I think this is a hard map to do it on. Because again, there are those choke points, and you can use utility to prevent that push, but there's such little space that needs to be covered for the attackers to actually get onto a site and get the plant down. I mean, ultimately, is this going to come down to how they choose to adapt? And it's well, we're seeing an overextension. I don't think that is the play, really, there at all. I think that being a bit further back, because then it allows for a quicker rotation.
I have the spike.
I honestly can't say.
All right, so let's see. Going into round 22 of Game 3 of our quarterfinals here at the July Huntress Trials. Except, you know, they're not a team to count out here. Oxygen, they've done some very good map play as Retha uses the owl to try and scout out the point. Not finding too much in the way of defenders here means that Oxygen, they've got carte blanche to head right onto the A site and make that early plant.
Yeah, indeed, that plant is starting to go down, it sounds like. And there we go. Spike has been planted. The control was taken very quickly, and they took that opportunity. That is what I like to see Counterfeit.
It works so well. We have got a defensive killjoy coming out, which should open the space for getting back onto the spike. That is, I suppose, the disadvantage from making that early spike plant, is you're vulnerable to having this kind of counterplay done.
Yes, certainly. You know, it is a 3v5, but Exet really have to make the plays now. They have to go for the defuse. Maybe do a little bit of heal distraction, Bobby, and get someone to just stick that defuse. And there we go. Crazy is going to go for the defuse, but these players are going to rush upon her, and there's not a lot they can do. Oxygen are winning another round, and it is now match point.
Match point.
Wow, this has been an incredible journey so far. Oxygen, former champions. Exet getting denied by last tournament's finalists. Both teams worthy of the top spot, but only one is allowed to go any further than this. Oxygen poised for victory. It's one game away.
This is it, right? Like, both of them absolutely deserve to win right now. I don't care what anyone says. Both these teams deserve to win. They have played brilliantly, to be honest, brilliantly. And again, I'm going to be really watching a lot of these players going forward, because I think that they are genuinely built different.
For Oxygen, no major commits as of yet. No damage being done either. You can see that Exet looking a little uncomfortable right now as Giuliano gets caught. Which means the A site is now lightly defended. Mimi is there with her turret, who can see the space being used by the Oxxgen Esports to try and overwhelm Mimi's defense. Is dropping down, but now Mimi picks up kill number 2! Could it be a third? Not quite! Where is the rest of Exet though?
Yeah, a little bit risky right now, the Viper all the way on B, but that push is strongly and firmly coming through from A, and I don't think they're going to make a rotation this late, although, actually, what is this? What do my L5 see? It looks like that spike is actually being pulled back and away from sight. I think that's a little bit of a time waste. I think they should have just forced their way in, tried to get some kills and stick the plan.
Yeah, I mean, exactly as you said, it's working very well for Exet to try and bring us back to even. If they can just delay the game, 25 seconds left on the round, this could be it. It's 3v2, Exet have the advantage, Ness is gone, and with it, perhaps the hopes of Oxygen, unless we see something truly spectacular.
Spike down A.
I think that was a little bit, yeah, there was a little bit of a time waste there. It allowed Exet the chance to get that extra player onto the site. It's ironic really, because I think sometimes Oxygen can be a little too aggressive, but in that moment they weren't aggressive enough. And again, I understand, you know, pressure's on, it's match point and you really want to secure that dub, but you've just allowed Exet to crawl back even more. And this is, again, it's too close for comfort. It is way too close for comfort.
I think thoughts of comfort are so far from our team's mind right now. That's, you know, this is the moment that is going to forge or break your team. For Oxygen, they are so close, they can taste it, but making a mistake here can cost them everything. If we get to go to, you know, the overtime, that would be devastating for Oxygen.
Deploying drone.
It really would. Again, they can't afford to let that happen, in my opinion. You know, they want to be able to win this tournament again. And go again. They will be, if Oxygen win, they get their revenge arc. They get to go against Project X and take revenge for last season. So yeah, not the time to be making any mistakes.
Crazy up on high will fall back, seeing that Oxygen have arrived in force. The plan has not been made yet. The Petra's going to try and gather a little bit of extra information. See, they're coming down onto the site. Still, Oxygen have not committed as of yet. Apparently, they're still concerned about whether or not this is the right play. Retha drops down. Time might be running short for Oxygen here to avoid overtime.
30 seconds left.
Yeah, absolutely, and Nariel's going to get the pick, but is immediately traded back to Giuliano, also taking down Mainster, but Philippe is going to trade that back by shooting down Petra. A 3v2 situation. The Spike still needs to actually go down though, but Ness is going to make the job a lot easier by whittling down the opposition. They're going to a 2v2. Take step back, the spike has been planted, and Ness gets the pick onto Giuliano.
This
It's
is
all
down
about-
to the wire. Baby! No!
Attackers win.
It's over. Oxygen Esports are headed to